welcome. So we are starting our new season with a wonderful interview with a very close friend of mine today. I met him 12 years back, and he seemed very out of the usual people I meet in the corporate world. So this is Varun Talwar. Hello, welcome, Varun.
Hello, Mandeep.
Let me tell all my friends that Varun was on a path of self-discovery from whenever I remember him. Every time I met him, he was into a new thing. He was actually deep diving into the study of the sacred texts, all the grunts which are possible. And very soon, the person who had returned from US and had been a serial IT entrepreneur was jumping into saying that I have had a burnout, and now you could find him in Varanasi. You could find him in, somewhere near the Dalai Lama, everywhere, whichever. And this guy was reading new things. And before you know, this guy had set up a whole thing in Himachal. And I call it a very yogi kind of a life, total away from social media and telephones and everything. But at the same time, he has been investing in the right kind of things and coaching wonderful leaders across the world, but he makes sure that he has time for himself. Recently, he reached out to me and said, listen, I have recorded 26 Dhampadas and I want you to go through it. When I heard them, I was really feeling this sense that I want to share it with you women at the WiP platform. And that is when I invited Varun to come and speak to us about what got him into this journey of his. So Varun, I hope this describes you in a very, very nutshell.
Yes, Mandeep. Everything is a story. So yeah, this is a good summary of my story.
Yes. So Varun, I wanted to begin with the fact that, suddenly from an engineering background and MBA in the US, how did you get drawn to this spiritual journey?
When I met you, Mandeep, about 12 years ago, I was at a point where I was reaching to a point of burnout, but my journey had begun much earlier. I met you around 10, 12 years ago. So I've just turned 50. So I must be 38, 39 that time when I met you. But my journey started around 22. And all spiritual journeys have a suffering somewhere.
Yes.
And my suffering at that point was I had split with my girlfriend of 4 years, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't control the situation. And we all, there's innate in us to control things. And I couldn't control the situation. And that led me to think something else is controlling my destiny. And that question started my spiritual journey. And then, you go through multiple expansions. And so for the first few years, it was purely intellectual study. And then I reached a point where I felt whatever I'm reading, I need to realize it. And then I was drawn into a center in Himachal. It's called Z Meditation. I went there for a 21-day silent retreat. I was very restless for the first few days. I wanted to run away. The teacher was very kind and kept saying, one more day, just one more day. And I kept saying, no, I'm a CEO of a company. I need to go. I'm needed. Basically, the inner turmoil started to come into my head, and I couldn't overcome those voices and that noise. But around 8th day, I started experiencing what they call in our scriptures a samadhi state, where all your chakras get aligned and you get a huge rush of pranic energy, and everything, just your thoughts go away and you go into a different, they say the fourth consciousness, which is Turya. I experienced it. We couldn't talk, so I drew a diagram to my teacher because my spine used to go like this. So he didn't say anything. He's just everybody goes through different kind of, in Kundalini yoga, they say everybody gets a different kind of experience. But that was my major turning point. That was around 2011. And then when I met you, it was around 2012. I started to feel that I am getting burnt out, but I didn't know what to do about it. And then about another 2-3 years, I reached a point when my back broke. I couldn't walk. I was left with no choice, again, suffering. I had to leave my usual secular life, and I came into the mountains. I live now in Himachal. I came initially just to heal myself, and then things grew. Now you came here, you saw things have grown over a period of time. So that's in a nutshell how my journey began. I still feel I'm on a journey, but I've reached a point where I'm ready to talk about my journey. All these years, I mean, I started living here 10 years ago when I was around turning 40, but I wasn't willing to share the journey so far because I felt I'm not ready. And this is the first time I'm speaking about my journey. So all thanks to you. You're doing great work. And I felt I would like to start with you and tell my story.
Thank you so much, Varun. Varun, the women that we have, I'm very blessed to have this community, and all of them are women who worked in the corporate world, in banking, in IT. Some of them have stepped out of it because of compelling reasons, either looking after the family, the children, or caregiving to their parents. And some of them decided to be entrepreneurs, and follow their own paths. Some of them become yoga experts, Reiki, meditation. Some of them are, into businesses and stuff like that. So I'm very proud of the fact that we have all kinds of women. I do find a lot of women reaching also the stage and saying that, I'm not happy. I have everything, but I'm looking for something. So that elusive happiness is something that we are chasing.
Yes.
They'll say one day that I want to give it all up, and the next day, that you bought another house or another car, and things continue like that. One thing which is really difficult for women is the time that they have to take out for things for themselves when they want to search something. And whenever I hear all of the things or read from whatever we often discuss, you and I, truth that people are trying to seek, those answers that people are seeking, and they don't have the time. So I want them to see the series of videos that you have created from the Dhampadas, which obviously the
Right.
teachings of Buddha. I found them that, oh my God, why should people read this in the 50s and 60s? This is
Right.
so relevant for the life that we struggle in. And I wish people knew about this earlier in life. What is your viewpoint on that? And how can women
I have a
apply
similar
this?
viewpoint. I have a similar viewpoint, Mandeep, that I went through this sudden realization when I was in US. Um, I was working for a very large corporation and I was unhappy and I had everything in life. I had whatever you wish for, all what we materially wish for. And I went to this place and they were happy people.
Mm.
Um, and it was a spiritual place. And I thought, and they were into Eastern philosophy and they were all white monks. I thought, what have I missed? I have come to the West chasing a dream. And here are these white monks who've left everything. And they were all ex-Marines or Navy guys. And they were dancing on bhakti music. And at that moment, I realized that I need to understand what they have understood. And that's how I went into the Eastern philosophy. Before that, I had no interest. I was going to do Bible study. I tried doing meditation through a Buddhist group circle, but I couldn't. And then I started to go into these spiritual books. And I was about 26, 27 that when this began. And then I feel that one of the reasons I have started to decode these books and simplify is realizing that, these things should have been given to us when we were young. We have born into a country where there's so many enlightened people which have come. I think this is one of the lands. Maybe it's a geography. I don't know what it is. Maybe we don't impose on our children a Sunday school or this is the way you find God. If you look at Nanak, you look at so many masters which have come from here, like Mahavir and um, Buddha. So I feel that these things should have been given to us when we were young. Since it didn't happen because I think we were westernized by the British. We went to this Western way of thinking, Western schools. For me, it came much later in life, in my 20s, when I started to understand. And what you're saying is a lot of people now are discovering this desire or this quest late. It doesn't matter when it comes. Our scriptures say that whatever you have left in the past life, at the right time, the seed will germinate inside you, and you will get this desire in you to ask these questions that what is my purpose? Why am I here? For me, it happened around in 20s. For some people, it happens even younger. So for some people, it happens later. But it doesn't matter what age group this question comes. And if the yearning is very strong, I believe it does not matter. If you're chasing money, you will find money. If you're chasing fame, you will find fame. If you're chasing a higher purpose, what we call a Lord or Creator, whatever, if that yearning is so strong, I feel the field opens. It's like when you're chasing money, you meet the right set of people, you will find the right set of books, you'll find the right set of videos, you'll find the right set of ideas to make money. Same way it is in this journey. When the yearning is so strong, the path starts opening. I met some amazing people in the last 10 years, and I've introduced you to some of them who really opened my my linear thinking into a non-linear thinking. And I feel that today, wherever that consciousness I've reached, it's all thanks to some of these people I met, some of the books they recommended, some of the videos they said you go see. It's all culmination of all that. And when Buddha got enlightened, he said, I thank all the Buddhas of the past, I thank all the Buddhas of the future. In what he was saying was, it is never one person who makes that conscious. Or for example, you and me, we have gone to the other side. We have seen what it means to not be here. And then we have come back. It has opened a very different consciousness for us. And I think we are now at a very interesting point in the human journey right now. We are in 2024, but the next 10 odd years are going to be very interesting for humanity. There'll be a lot of mass suffering. And I was telling Christina the other day, I see a lot of people will start going back to church, because I saw the churches were empty in Europe a few years ago when I went to Vienna when she was living there. I feel a lot of people will turn to God again, because in suffering, where do we go? I have seen people who claim themselves to be atheists suddenly talk about God when they were suffering. So I think this is a very interesting time that you are also recording this, and I'm also willing to speak about it. Next few years are going to be, a lot of people will turn towards finding the inner light. And ultimately, everything is inside. The journey we feel is outside. I went all the way searching here and there, everywhere in the world. But ultimately, as Jesus said, the light is inside you. We have to tap into that light. But there is a process. We have to go out, and then, we come back in. So it doesn't matter. I think it's whenever they start is good.
How you can get started even while you are with a family amongst your children and can drawn to this. You don't have to separate. It's like a grist ashram mein
Yeah.
आप रहकर कैसे कर सकते हैं. This is something that I used to talk to my husband that I'm drawn to this. I may not be drawn to saying clubbing or partying. Nothing wrong with that. It's just
Yeah.
that I think I'm over it now, and I would rather spend time with a book or hear something or read something which is different. I think this bit about how will I be viewed and do that. So whenever I read through the fact that everything springs from the thought that you have, or you have to conquer yourself, the hardest truths, or you're trying to find what truly matters, I may have got into meditation, which is so important. And all the readings say that for the health purpose, and health is one of the biggest things. If health is there, and I know in all your things which I've been hearing, but one of the beautiful things which I heard, I think, a couple of times in one of your videos was about choices. And this is a word which I love, which is even in a corporate world or otherwise, is the choices that we make and we live with them. How do you compel people to not look at everything about what other people say and take that choice about this is what I need, and I need to put myself first, my health first, and deep dive into my own whatever I want? How would you tell people to get moving towards this? Because I find most people struggle with this.
Yep. So in my initial journey, I was pushing people to see what I was seeing. What I have realized is that you cannot make a person quit smoking. You cannot make a person become a vegetarian because you feel it's better for their health. All this happens from deep inside you when the time comes. When the time comes, you start making the right choices. Everything is destined. So if the destiny has brought them to a point where it will not just be in their intellectual head, it'll hit their heart. And then they will say, okay, you know what? I need to change my track. For me, it happened. The point came when I heard Mother Teresa. I was very young, and I read one line of hers, which says, faith is given to lucky few. And I started to cry deep inside. Because when I read that, faith is given to lucky few, I realized I've become faithless. And that started my journey. And Dhampada said, better than 1,000 words is one word that brings peace. It was that one word And that's when I started going to Bible study, because that was the only person that I could look up at that time. And I thought, she's serving the world. There must be something in Christianity. So I feel, first of all, you and I cannot force other people to take choices. It has to come from within them. Second of all, if it hits their heart, the Lord is going to show them the way. They will start to find the right books. They will start to go to the right YouTube videos. The first thing will happen is, it at least happened with me, and it also the scripture says, that your thoughts starts changing. When your thoughts starts changing, a point comes, then you realize that now you've read so much that, you read all kind of things when you are in that self-help journey. A point comes that I don't want to read anymore. I want to now assimilate and let it go into your heart. And that's when in my journey, it went automatically. I started to go towards, meditation. I wanted to learn meditation. I couldn't meditate. I had to try over and over again, over and over again. I failed multiple times. I tried this teacher, I tried this teacher. It's like, when you decide to lose weight, you try this gym, you try this teacher, you just try this yoga teacher, but ultimately no teacher is going to help you. Ultimately, no book is going to help you till the time you have that strong willpower to lose weight. In the same way, when your mind is full and you have so much weight, and when you have to declutter, ultimately no meditation teacher can also help you. When till the time you say, you know what, no matter what, I'm going to lose this weight which is in my head. And then when the willpower is so strong, automatically you start getting help. In my case, for 9 days it was hell. I went through that 21 days of that meditation. I cursed myself to have signed up for it. I cursed the teacher, but it was the teacher's help. And obviously there was some universal help that came one day, and then I experienced for the first time what meditation is about. I used to think like, how can people sit for hours? My daughter says, come watch a television with me. I said, I can't do that. It's she said, you can sit there for 2 hours meditating, and you can't sit like for an hour to watch television with me, like a movie. And I'm like, Baba, I cannot explain. She said, it's so boring what you do. And I used to be there. Like, meditation was so boring for me. But when you experience the high of it, then automatically you start to enjoy it. In the same way, I would say, when some of the women that you're inspiring, when they would reach to a point when they realize that there is something they need to find out, which will help them live their lives better, they will make the choices. And the second question you asked, that how can they live within the world and do these things? There are two types of teachers. One is the Buddha type of teacher who says, leave everything and go into the forest. And the second type of teacher is Nanak type teacher, who went through the whole journey, 25 years, he traveled all across the world. And then he came and said, Kirat karo, do the work, stay in the grahastha. Now, both choices are fine. All our scriptures say there is a path of wisdom, some follow. There's a path of action, some follow, which is karma yoga. I and you are choosing to stay in the karma yoga, which is, we have a choice of not doing anything. We are not doing this for money, power, fame, but we are doing this as a path of action to help others, what we have discovered. So I feel that people who are in this corporate world, when they want to help themselves, they will make a decision. They will listen to the videos that you are putting out there. They will listen to some of the books that you're asking them to read. And then they will come to you one day and say, can you recommend me a meditation teacher? That's what happened to me. A lot of CEOs that I was coaching, they automatically at some point, when I tried to push them in a certain direction, didn't help. And it becomes violence after some time, because if you try to impose your thoughts on people, and which they're not ready for, then at some point they start rebelling. It's like a child, and they start getting angry at you, and then the energy becomes negative between you and them. I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people who are on a spiritual journey make is they want to give this high to other people that they love, because they themselves are feeling so lonely now suddenly. Because when you go on the spiritual journey, you become lonely, because all the friends that you have no interest in some of the subjects that you are now following. The journey becomes very lonely, and it is out of selfishness we say, no, you also go do this course, or listen to this, or come to this satsang, because we are feeling lonely. I did that mistake. And then I realized at a certain point, of course, out of violence, when a lot of violence came on me, that, oh, this is not love. This is violence on them. I need to stop. I need to go silent. And then now automatically in the last, I would say a year or so, people came and said, like, explain what is the next step for me. And it happens automatically. So I feel that, Mandeep, when you talk about choices, all these women that are in the corporate world will make that choice on its own. And the first choice it is you start listening to different thought pattern, because there's a thought pattern that you are trying to share is a very different thought pattern. It is not talking about how to get power, money, and fame. It is a thought pattern to say, how do you find inner peace? How do you find health? How do you find your connection back to your own light? And this thought pattern, some will get inspired and most won't, because they have come for a different purpose in this life, and it's fine, you know. So that's what I feel about choices. Is we
Very
have to
well
leave.
summarized. Very well summarized, Varun. I think everybody's looking for that thing called inner peace, and everybody's wanting to say, how do I get more healthier? How do I do it? But I think taking that first step, and I think it is one of the things that we need to make sure that you get started. Take that
Yeah.
first step at least, and most people talk about it, but it doesn't happen. And I think it is there. You do miss sometimes. The fact that I was into that fame and that bit into it, and now I'm moving away from something where people often ask you that where have you been, and it's very difficult to describe what you are up to. So I totally get where you are. I've been going through some of those struggles in my own journey, and I think
It's a lonely journey and it's depressive, because I remember when I came here first, the phone stopped ringing. I wasn't feeling needed anymore. And when suddenly you give up the power that you have, you realize actually the world goes without you. It'll go on without you. And I think that recognition that I am feeling lonely is a very big awareness. And often scriptures talk about Sangha. We're looking for that Sangha, no matter which journey we are chasing. If we're chasing the money, we want that Sangha. If we're chasing this inner peace, we want that Sangha. Because we want to share. Alone, doing our own thinking, even if you're reading, like in my case, I'm very lucky. When I'm doing all this new, so when I did Dhampada, I started to now work on the Bhagavad Gita, and I'm trying to make it very simple that people don't even realize that it's coming from Bhagavad Gita. But I have one person in my house. I can, whatever I do during the day, I finish the chapter, I take it to her. I said, "You're my editor. You're the only person who live here. So you have to now do this for me." So we really laugh. Like whenever she meets me, she talks about home improvement project. Whenever I meet her, I'd show her the monkeys. So that's my Sangha. But it took me a long while to get the Sangha here with me, because initial first few years I was alone and there was nobody to talk to. And how much can you really talk on phone? You need sometimes just silence between two people. And I think in your case, in my case, as we have left that whole journey, we are looking for that Sangha. And I think it'll happen. Like, for example, you and I sometimes talk about, same way more people will emerge in your life who will come and talk to you about some of these things. And it'll happen on its own, slowly, I feel.
One final thought for people that you would like to say, that what is your mantra, the thing that you live with. I always ask people, what is your success mantra? But if I get started, we'll need another hour to get that meaning of success in your world, which is very different. So tell me, what is that mantra that you like to tell people that you live by?
Should I tell you the honest thing? There's no mantra. There is no mantra. There is, if mantra means that everybody will have to chant the same mantra, I feel that every human being is on their own journey. They have to find their own mantra. That's my mantra. Find your own mantra. Simple. There is no shortcut to finding your mantra. No guru can give you, no book can give you, no God can give you. You have to go deep inside and find your mantra. And whatever your mantra is, your mantra. It's going to work for you. So my mantra, I can tell you, is uh, I have written 5 words in front of my bed, which says, first word is silence, second word is detached, third one says equanimous, fourth one says forgiving, and the fifth one says mystery. These are the 5 things that I often read whenever I sit to work and it's in front of my eyes. And the first word starts with silence. And I try to practice that every day for a few minutes or an hour, just going silent, no matter how difficult the day is. And I've seen that silence really has helped me a lot. It has helped my body, mind, both, because I reached a point where my head used to ache a lot. So that's my mantra. But I would say it doesn't work for everyone. They have to find their own mantra.
Thank you so much, Varun. I know we make these just about half an hour kind of videos so that we can, I think we need to bring you back, and maybe you should start one sangha for us once in a month or whatever, and tell us some things, and we should get only the interested people, even if they're 4, 5 or 10, 15, to just come together and just discuss this or listen to you about a few things that you do, because it's interesting. It's so interesting. So I think I'm going to tell all the members that it's very difficult to sum up all that Varun has said. But out of all the things that you hear him saying, I would like to mention one of the precious thoughts of Gautam Buddha about saying that the world is full of sorrows. The reason for these sorrows is obviously our desires. And whenever I'm coaching, everything comes from the fact that everybody has desires. So overcoming the desires can destroy the sorrows. It's a very loaded statement if you think about it. And let's try to work a little bit towards it. You have a very nice week ahead. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.